Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. On today's episode of me talking about stuff and things, I'm going to be talking about Down Under Siege, and what I will say before recapping the episode is I really hope we can get some moments on a Watch Mojo episode for crazy reality TV show moments. Not necessarily crazy as in people going crazy, but crazy as in the situation is crazy. And at the beginning of the episode, we get hints that something big is happening. We see all the injuries, the exhaustion, and we see Kayla practicing with the bow, and she says she's more comfortable with fishing. And she talks about her declining health and hopes to get more food soon. And she and Max go hunting, and Laura isn't really able to go with them because she kind of tweaked her neck a little bit with the axe chopping challenge. And she talks about how her most recent 21-day challenge took a lot out of her, and she hasn't fully recovered yet. And Chini does some hunting practice and talks about wanting to work with other survivalists and has been with the same people this whole time. And unfortunately, Jermaine left last episode and they seem to be good friends. And we also hear Kayla talking about how it's hard for her to gain weight and she needs more food. And she's just been going so hard at these challenges and she's burning a lot of calories. And unfortunately, she's not able to get a lot of them back. And then we cut to Darren and his group, who have had no shortage of food recently because of Matt getting the boar. And Darren has the idea to make a pit oven to cook the boar's head. And unfortunately for Max, he is unsuccessful with hunting and wants to move locations because there aren't really a lot of animals to hunt at the moment. Day 19, and Darren, Matt, and Trish unbury the boar's head and eat some of the meat. And Trish talks about how she's worked hard, but people don't really see her accomplishments. And she's worried about going against Matt and Darren because they are skilled and very strong. Kayla goes fishing, but doesn't really feel well. She feels prickly. She blacked out when she got up, and her hands are a little red. A medic is called to check on her, and she is diagnosed with low blood pressure and is malnourished. She is told to also hydrate. And then Laura goes to forage some berries for Kayla because the medic says that Kayla needs carbohydrates, and a serving of black currants have 17 grams of carbohydrates, I believe is what I read from the Google. And Laura said she loves survival but not the competition, and she feels weird that she is wanting to help Kayla and collecting berries for her, but she's also talking about how she's helping her competitor, and those feelings are very difficult for her to contend with because she just loves survival but isn't in the competitive mood at the moment. And we cut to Matt, who said he's feeling great because he has had a lot of boar meat and the emu eggs are really great. And then he decides he wants to take a rest day and makes a bull roar, which is said to ward off evil spirits based off of, I believe, Australian indigenous culture. And we see Laura and Kayla fishing nearby, and Darren says that women aren't allowed to hear the bull roar or else evil spirits will go to them. And I don't know if it's the edit or if Kayla and Laura actually heard the bull roar, but we see Matt using it and we hear the noise and we kind of see Kayla and Laura looking in a direction we assume to be Matt using the bull roar, but that might just be some editing magic to kind of make sense of things that happen later on or to add a foreboding feeling to it all. And then Trish wants to have a chat with the other women, and so Trish, Chini, Kayla, and Laura have a meeting, and they worry that if they do individual challenges, the women will be picked off one by one because the men are stronger and faster, according to them. They are annoyed about potentially being carried by a man or by various men. They don't want people to think their win was a fluke or they were carried. And they threw around the idea of tapping on their own terms. And then Chini wants to gather her thoughts about the situation and decides to go hunting. Laura and Kayla talk with Max about how the competition isn't what they thought it would be. And if all the competitions were individual challenge, then they would have been eliminated by now. But Max says the negative thoughts are coming from lack of food. And day 20 and Max goes hunting. Kayla says she's reached her limit and Laura feels like they shouldn't be out there. Trish joins Laura and Kayla, then Chini joins the group to go quote unquote berry picking because they kind of gather each other and I guess lie to Patrick, Matt, and Darren about quote unquote berry picking because they don't want them to catch on to what is really happening. And then Matt, Darren, and Patrick have a chat and wonder what's happening. And Matt talks about how Trish took the axe that Darren made for her that she said she would take home with her on the quote unquote berry picking excursion, and so it doesn't really make any sense. So they kind of catch on to something is happening, but they don't know exactly what. And then Max comes back from hunting and he sees that Laura and Kayla are gone, but all their stuff is still there. And then we cut to Trish, Laura, Chini, and Kayla having a TED talk. Trish says the challenges aren't built for women. They don't want to ride the coattails and quote unquote luck into a win. They want to take control back and say they are leaving. Chini goes off on her own to think things through. Laura, Trish, and Kayla approach Matt, Darren, Max, and Patrick and tell them that they are leaving the challenge. That's right, we are getting a triple tap out. I remember, looking online and seeing someone jokingly talk about, oh, it's a triple tap out. And so I was just like, Going into the episode, there weren't really many more trailer moments that I saw for the three of them. So I'm like, oh no, I think they may be leaving soon. But I thought it'd be for different reasons. I thought it'd be a med tap or two. I thought Trisha's eye would cause her to leave. I thought Kayla's low blood pressure would cause her to leave and Laura's neck. But no, they all decide to leave on their own accord. And they said they had a meeting where they expressed their thoughts on what's happening in the competition and decided that it's okay to go home. Kayla doesn't want to sacrifice her health. Laura is not a competition person. And Trish has fought hard but doesn't see herself going much further because the challenges are strength and speed based and they wouldn't be able to win no matter how hard they tried. The heat and environment are intense in Australia. Max is upset and talks about how amazing Laura, Kayla, and Trish are. Hopefully this means that they can make the locations easier to compete in and change up the way challenges are done, because if 3 survivalists are leaving because they feel there's a little bit of unfairness going on, hopefully they can make equal playing fields or have a location where there's a lot more food for them to eat between challenges, so those who don't really necessarily come in bulkier can have a fair chance. But we don't know exactly what happened behind the scenes. It seems like the edit is a lot at play here, so you just never know. And Chini is contemplating her next move. She talks about how she was the only woman in her SERE, S-E-R-E class and still made it through. She doesn't want to quit, and so she decides to stay, and only 5 competitors remain. And this explains a lot because Matt talked about 27 days being left around day 13 or so. So there maybe was supposed to be around 40 to 45 days, but they changed it to 30 last minute. And so that might also explain why a lot of things seemed very stretched out, because they probably had a certain episode order. They had to fill probably 9 to 10 episodes, which is why things seemed stretched out, and they added a lot of the lore that they did. Laura made a social media post saying she will never be on Last One Standing again, and she also said she is done with the franchise. Patrick says he wanted to compete and not have the environment take people out, and people are quick to turn on their faves on social media. They are tough people, and please do not send hate to the survivalists. Please support your favorites. Day 21, Max is upset Laura, Kayla, and Trish left. Max is determined to make it through and mentioned on his 21-day challenge his 3 partners all tapped out in quick succession. The remaining groups get a scroll. They are told they are competing as individuals. The challenge is firing arrows at a target to earn the chance to process a feral animal. They have to hit a target 3 times to move on to phase 2, which is processing a rabbit. They must surrender all earned assets and must win the opportunity to get them back. The first survivalist to complete the processing earns the meat and a bag of salt. Second and fourth place also get the rabbit meat, while fifth place doesn't get protein. First and second place get 2 survival items, while third through fifth get 1 survival item. Matt is confident but doesn't want to be overconfident, and Matt ends up getting first place. And Patrick gets second, Chini gets third, Darren gets fourth, and unfortunately, Max gets fifth. Matt gets the salt, a knife, and a bow. Patrick gets his bow and a fishing asset. Chini gets a fishing asset. Darren gets a bow and arrows. And Max gets the scrubbable hide. And there were 2 knives and a rope left over, and so they were removed from the challenge. The top 4 cooked the rabbits. Max is worried that he doesn't have a way to hunt for food. And of course, there's a boar that's near his camp, and he tries to run after it, but it gets away, and I think that was for the best. Day 23, and there's a scroll. It is migration day. They all move to Zone 3, which has rivers and 3 of the largest lakes in the region. It is a higher elevation, so it's a lot cooler where they're going, so that's nice. They must make an important decision once they get there, which is essentially going left or right, and there will be a camp of 3 and a camp of 2, but that may change depending on what happens at the beginning of next episode. It is PSR update time. Chini and Matt's PSRs increase, and Chini is at a total of 90 days survived, while Matt is at 275. And unfortunately for Max, his PSR decreases, although he has 200 total days and challenges. And before the commercial break, we see that Max steps on a coal before he leaves camp, and a medic checks on his foot, and he's a little bit delayed when going to his camp. But after Chini and Patrick and Darren and Matt part ways, Matt and Chini end up in the same camp, and Patrick and Darren end up in the same camp. And Max approaches the scroll and says he can go left, right, or he has a third option. And then the episode ends. And spoiler alert for next week, potentially, it looks like based on the commercial for next week, Max may be tapping from the competition. Soon we will have 4 survivalists remaining, and we have 3 episodes left. And the next episode, the episode is called Bringing the Heat and the Meat. In a grueling rocket stove challenge, a worst to first comeback by a dark horse secures a critical asset. A survivalist gets a big game dispatch and plots to shift the balance of power. A top contender's shocking exit rocks the competition. So, unfortunately, I think Max leaves the challenge. So we have our final 4, and then we'll have one more elimination on episode 8, and then episode 9 will be the finale. But oh my gosh, that episode was crazy. I hope that Laura, Kayla, and Trish tapping can end up on a Watch Mojo video for crazy reality TV show moment. But maybe this will lead to change in the last one standing. I don't know if the reasons that the 3 gave are the actual reasons that they're leaving, but time will tell, or not. We shall see, but thank you all so much for listening. Please like, comment nice things, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Okay, bye-bye.